Brothers and sisters, again, you're not clicking that button like or subscribe as often as I wish you did. And now that I'm collecting data on you through Google, I know where you live. So you better press that button. So Jesse the Body, it's the Monday night, this is the show. This is the prettiest guest we had so far. And she really brightens up the studio. And without further sounding more sexist than I already do, Tania, what's up?
Hi.
Jesse, tell me more about Tania.
So I'll let Tania introduce herself.
Okay. Hi, guys. My name is Tania Paris, and I am a group fitness instructor, and I primarily work out of Montreal. I am also a guest instructor that travels a lot to the Caribbean to do something called Sokasweat because it is my sister brand. It is something I purchased a couple of years ago, and I have the rights for the Canadian territory, and this is something I'm expanding on.
Tell us more about that. What is that?
It's kind of comparable to Zumba, but with Caribbean music only, so it's not Latin. It's really Caribbean. It's a very intense and interactive course. I'm the only one who does it in Montreal or in Canada, and my goal is to expand into certifications to get more people involved.
Jesse, and how did you guys two end up working together?
So we followed each other on social media, and we've known of each other for a while. We had like small talk here and there, and pretty much we just decided, I don't even remember exactly how it happened, but we're just like, hey, we should do content together and, start doing some work together so we can, create this joint program to serve clients at an even higher level. And that's kind of what we're in the process of building at the moment.
So, brothers and sisters, social media pays off. Here's a good, positive story about using the social media in the right way, not the way you do it, not for your egos, not for spying on chicks or boyfriends or exes and stuff like this. Use it precisely, use it strategically, use it for networking. Glenn, is that how you use your social media?
The G-Man doesn't have social media, actually. It doesn't need it.
Well,
But,
that's not true. You have Instagram and TikTok. Are you aware of that?
You made it. I didn't even know. But I was, before the show, I was just reviewing some of Tania's work that she does, her group fitness classes. And holy moly, talking about twisting and twerking. And she looks like she can give a real workout to people. And it looks fun, too.
Yes.
She looks in shape too, brothers and sisters. So she's a testimony of her own work. Actually, there's a big testimony thing we want to talk about. I saw that at the gym. You had a few people there that you were measuring their results in the last few days. That I go to the gym often. I have to confess this is my sin. I work out. And Jesse can testify to that. He sees me there sometimes, right?
Yes, I do.
So the question is, tell us more about that program that you guys do, because that's actually quite amazing.
So the idea of the program is really to make fitness more accessible to more people, especially today with inflation and, the rising costs of everything. The first thing you're going to drop off is yourself and your well-being. So we wanted to make sure that that was not a problem to as many people as we could. So we came together and we created this program that really just covered personal training, covered meal plans, covered supplementation, covered gym memberships. They really have no excuse at this point. So we started this with 5 people who come from 5 completely different backgrounds, different home environments as well, to show the world that anybody could do this. It's for anybody. You don't have to be, a mom or not a mom, or have a job or not a job. So that was the idea.
Are they more women
No.
of your client? No, you have a
It's
diverse
unequal.
and age-wise?
All kinds of age, from
Yeah.
17 to 50, in the mid-50s.
Yeah. So we have 3 women and 2 men. So, like she said, anywhere from 17 to early 50s. And they all have more or less different goals, which is good. And we intentionally chose people who were on different parts of the scale to show that one person who thought weight loss was impossible for them, that it is indeed possible for anybody. You just need the right tools, the guidance, the accountability to support, and the right action steps to get you to your goals. And that was the intent behind the program, was to take a different variety of people and transform all of them to show everybody that there is no excuse, right? You know, fitness and nutrition is a universal language. And the reason why people fail is because they're not accountable to themselves or they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, just to add to what Jesse said, also just their habits. They need to just change their habits. And sometimes they don't realize it. So we're kind of there to facilitate that and just kind of walk them through that process.
Where can we follow this program?
Through
Like, is it it's on social media? Is it a public event? Because you obviously want people to see the results, right? And to see that it is possible and it doesn't have to cost you arm and a leg. And a lot of people neglect themselves. And you actually, hey, okay, brothers and sisters, I have something. This is a spiritual talk. If you don't take care of yourself, like if you don't invest time and resources into yourself, other people will treat you the same way. They will treat you as a second option. You got to be the first option for yourself. If you don't love yourself, you don't treat yourself with this, universe will do the same. It's not going to throw back at you anything that you give because you're not giving yourself anything. So how are you going to receive if you don't put anything in, if you don't invest into yourself? How's the universe going to invest into you? So actually, on the other hand, Jesse and Tania, you guys are doing a service. You're not doing it for your own glory. You're actually spreading the love. And it's very important that we are performing service like this. We're also showing the universe that we're not doing it for the money. We're doing it for the betterment of the people. And as we're doing it from the heart, that's when abundance comes in. That's a good lesson, brothers and sisters. So can we follow that on Instagram?
Yes, you can follow it on my page or Jesse's page and all of our challengers' profiles as well, which you'll end up following through Jesse and myself.
And we'll have that at the bottom in the description links, and probably here on the screen is you watching this right now. Yeah, like right here. Look, I'll show it to you. Oh, I can't show it to you, but you get it, right? It's there. Glenn, how you been, man? I neglected you a little bit today. I've been talking to our co-hosts and guests.
Once in a while, G-Man likes to listen. God gave him 2 ears and 1 mouth because he wants him to listen twice as much as he's talking. And since I talk a lot, well, I have to give it back too. So
wisdom, right? And that's how we learn. Actually, somebody taught me that, you have 1 mouth for a reason versus 2 ears. Listen twice as much, right? That's a really good advice, brothers and sisters. We are full of good advices here today, so stick with us. We're also going to continue to teach to discern. And discernment is on you, not on us. We just present you with information. We teach you how it could be possibly read. And based on your preparation, and what is your preparation? Part of your preparation is listening to our show. Again, if you did not click like, and if you did not subscribe, you know the outcomes. Okay, Jesse, back to you. Anything else you want to add about how's your week? What's the story with bodybuilding? How's your body reacting?
he looks since what, a week?
Yeah.
You look leaner and more muscular already. You stepping on stage after our show today or what?
Still 10 weeks. And again, I changed nothing. Well, that's a lie. I increased my cardio by 15 minutes a day. That's about it. Diet stayed the same. Pancakes are coming out in 2 weeks, unfortunately. So sad times. And I just switched my red meat source. I was doing lean beef, and I switched it to extra lean beef. That's about it. The only changes necessary for the time being.
That's pretty precise, Jesse. Well, let's get straight to the diet since we're speaking about the diet. We actually brought this subject up last time, and we spoke about different sugar substitutes that you can take and what they can do for your health, or opposite, do they cause any harm? So we have a little bit something here we can listen to.
You may have heard too much sugar is bad for you, but too much artificial sweetener could be just as bad. A new study suggests a link between erythritol, a sugar alcohol, and blood clots, strokes, and even heart attacks. The Cleveland Clinic study looked at 1,157 people in their 50s to 70s, a majority of whom had pre-existing heart conditions or diseases. But a registered dietitian says the average person doesn't need to worry about their heart reacting to erythritol, but their gut.
A lot of times, sugar substitutes are made in foods that people eat a lot of, and therefore people can't digest it actually as well. So it stays in your system and it causes a lot of bloating and even cramps and digestive issues, and that is a concern if you eat too much of it.
She says most people don't eat enough to cause a heart attack, and sugar substitutes give people with diabetes access to foods they might otherwise not get to eat.
You might want to kind of try to train your taste buds to like less sweet things or gravitate towards the
Yeah, it's nothing new, right, Jesse? Like this is not a rocket science. We're not making this new discovery for anybody. But why in this day and age? Why in this day and age we still have to tell people about the harm that they get from the white enemy, which is sugar? Why is this still? Is it going back to the discipline? Is it still going with taking, instant gratification, the TikTok of food, the sugar?
Yeah. So as we discussed last time, sugar, white refined sugar, is very addictive. So I think people get addictive to that sweet taste, and it's almost like quitting to smoke, right? It's extremely difficult for the majority of people to step away from it. But I think these artificial sweeteners, to a certain degree, or these natural sweeteners, can be a good bridge from taking someone to consuming copious amounts of white sugar to eventually weaning off of it completely by starting to incorporate or introduce some of these lower calorie alternatives, slowly but surely. Again, a lot of these are not palatable for most people initially, but it's something that you can kind of train yourself to get used to. So I think it's going to be about trying to consciously make that transition between eating things full of sugar towards eating things with sugar substitutes, whether it's coming from these artificial sweeteners, which everyone claims are not entirely good for you, or these natural sweeteners. It's almost...
Well, we would agree, right? The natural is still a better way to go.
Yes.
Like even if you don't know exactly why it's better, we can agree natural is better than processed.
Yes, because it's not going to spike your insulin levels the same way that white refined sugar will, and this is what causes people to have these energy surges and then these massive crashes that follow. Why people feel crappy after they eat 4 or 5 donuts or have trouble managing their weight because they're screwing up their insulin receptors by consuming too much sugar all the time and not allowing their body to regulate things properly.
Glenn, you got something to add to this? Because I think it's really is up your alley too, in my alley. Because
he said after 4 donuts, sometimes after competitions, I would have a baker's dozen of donuts and it would go in like I was inhaling them. Sometimes in 24 hours, I was 19 pounds heavier than I was the day before, just from eating and then retaining all the water.
Carbs, right?
Yeah.
I was being generous. After my last show, I think I had 24 Krispy Kreme donuts in the span of 6 hours.
See, we're like everybody else. It just
Yeah.
we control ourselves a little bit. There's a time to go off, and the majority of the time you stay on your game. That's all.
Yeah, it's not something that's done every day, but and people know I'm on prep. I'll still go out to eat here and there. Obviously, at a certain point, I got to cut it out, but it's about moderation, and then you just manage your day accordingly. And I think there is room to eat these things. It's just not every single day with every single meal at every given time. A lot of people start their day with a sweet, and you would not believe the amount of people I have consultations with, and they're like, I need to have, a cookie or a chocolate with my morning coffee. And that's probably the worst thing you can do to start your day, is get that insulin rush first thing in the morning when you want to keep your insulin low.
But going back to the actual video we just watched, when people referring to processed sugars that, well, not processed, artificial sweeteners, right? They cause potential risks to your health beside the actual, processed sugar. Mm-hmm. But the study that they did the study on the people that already had pre-existing conditions. So how can you actually measure the study based on this?
Firstly, they did a study on, 1,150 people between the ages of 50 and 70. So for one, people between the ages of 50 and 70, a lot of them are already diabetic from poor eating habits. And two, that study is the size of a kitchen. It's almost not credible. I would disregard it altogether. To have actual significant data, you need to have, a larger population to study across all ages, not just people who are already prone to these conditions to begin with. That's just my 2 cents.
Well, it's a perfect example of discernment. Read carefully into where the study comes from. This is just the sensationalism. This is like I know we're doing the health show, and I'm just going to bring a little bit of the worldly stuff now. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world. Even at the church last Sunday, we talked about how are you affected by financial situation in the world and what you should do. In the church, we had this discussion. So I believe a lot of those non-stories is like 1,000 people study for the people, for the ages 50 to 70 with already pre-existing conditions. It's just nonsense. It's just the time to fill the air with the things that don't really matter.
It is. But the thing is, 9 out of 10 people are going to read that and believe it because they don't know how to differentiate a good study from a bad study or anything in particular. So,
But beyond that, like the rest of the review had nothing to do with the actual caption of it. It wasn't related. It was 2 different topics.
Exactly. I actually noticed that too. So they started talking about artificial sugars, and then they switched, well, you shouldn't eat sugars anyway, and then, change your habits and don't eat carbs because that's sugar too.
And it causes bloating. So it went from heart attack to being like you're going to feel bloated. So, and people are not going to listen. They're actually going to see that one-liner caption and be like, oh my God, everybody stop eating artificial sugar sweeteners.
Wow.
It's all marketing through media.
Or distraction. Oh, I'm glad you brought your friend here today, Jessie. She's so smart. And she noticed the things that we bypassed altogether and didn't even talk about. Thank you for your input, Tania. That's actually very important. That's how most of the stories, it's a headline, it's sensationalist, right? It's called clickbait.
Yes.
Oh my God, let's look at it. And the actual video had nothing to do with the actual article.
And why Jessie and myself, our jobs are so important is because we're on the grounds with these people. So even though we don't have the trillions of dollars to put into the media like the government does, we have the power to have that one-on-one connection and change the message. And when you change the message, you change the world.
One person at a time, right?
Yeah.
And also it's important that you have to know and you have to remember that Jesse the body, he's not just the body, he's also Jesse the brain, because he's the microbiologist in the group, Glenn, I'm glad you have friends like this. I'm glad I know you, that you have all those friends that introduced me to things like this.
When it comes to the government, I'm not really so sure that your health is their priority. They seem to be playing both sides, whatever is winning or whatever one they can gain more financial profit from.
And the profit is stemmed from marketing the pharmaceuticals, isn't it?
Yeah, bad lifestyle. Look, if you eat and everything towards the way nature intended, it's like domesticated animals, they have high cancer rates. But wild animals, the cancer in wild animals is virtually nil. So there's a reason for that. It's the same thing for us. If we gravitate more towards nature's intentions and we eat like that within reason, then once in a while, on the show we knock the Golden Arches McDonald's. But once in a while you can have McDonald's. Once every 10 years.
And also I don't even know if I should be going here, but
yes,
the whole government, it's always for them. It's not for the people. It's always to benefit them.
You go, girl.
Yeah. And Big Pharma made what, $1.7 trillion? And how much was put back into the community or the small businesses that had to close? Not a cent. But you have people like myself and Jesse who are giving free classes, giving free this, I did something called the Shine Project. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but the Shine Project was 90 days free fitness when they implemented the vaccine passport. So who was allowed to go to the gym or not? But we're in a health crisis. So how are you even doing this? I don't know. So I started a program, 90 days, free fitness. Every 2 weeks I delivered, based on their performance, free fruits and free vegetables to 50 plus people. And every month we delivered supplementation to them. Free osteo, free masso, free personal training. That's what I did for the people for over 90 days. And I'm nobody. So if the government or, medium-sized businesses are not doing this, there's a bigger problem here. a much bigger problem.
It's not in the interest to help people. The in interest is to actually milk people like cows for their taxes
Yeah, I
and
can't
their
do that.
obedience.
I can't do
No,
that.
and that's the thing. That's why you care, and that's why we're having this discussion. That's what I said. That's what I brought it up in the morning, in the beginning of the show. It's very important that the service for us as people, we don't serve others for the purposes like, oh, it's my ego. Look, I helped this person. No, we're doing this because you change one person. It starts with you. You change yourself, and then hopefully you can help other people to change. And on that example, possibly we have an opportunity to change the world. You don't change the world by going out there and screaming and throwing rocks and protesting and stuff like this. You change the world one action at a time, one person at a time. Agreed, right? Sometimes I say some smart things too, Glenn. Look, it's not just your guests.
Just one thing. I notice there's a lot of the word free going around. Free this, free that. Free is like a 4-letter bad word. Okay? Because eventually people perceive that what you're offering has no value. So I know you're going to scale this into something else because what you're offering has more value than most people think. It's about their own health. You don't know what you have until you don't have it anymore. So this is what we're trying to do together is raise awareness about physical fitness and eating properly and getting enough sleep so you can function great in this beautiful game of life.
Yeah. And a lot of people have the negative idea around fitness coaches. So myself, or my online coaching program is not entirely cheap. Not going to say how much it is, but I've been hit with money objections or, I can't afford that. It's too expensive. And then you ask them straight to their face, okay, so you can't afford, let's say, $500 a month. How much did you spend on restaurants the last week? And then they sit in their thoughts and they're like, well, I went out 3 times. Okay. Each of those times, how much did it cost you? $30. So right there, you're at $90. And then you have the Starbucks, and then you have the drinks, and then you have the junk food, which is going to supersede the cost of the coaching program in itself. And then when you transition them into cooking for themselves, they're going to save even more money. It's just people don't understand the value behind these coaching programs, right? You're not buying a nutrition plan. You're not buying a workout plan. You're not buying accountability. You're buying results. Because these people who will eventually suffer from diabetes or other health-related issues in the United States, the cost it's going to, the amount it's going to cost you to fix these issues through pharmaceuticals will far supersede the cost of coaching to get yourself in check. And that I promise you. So just something to consider.
Even when it comes to the gym business, okay? $1 a day for a membership for a year, $365. There was people coming to me and saying, oh, can you give me a special? A loonie a day? They're like, really? You're going to feel that? So that, the people, the priorities are mixed up.
Well, it's going back to my original point. You're not investing into yourself. If you're not investing into yourself, how do you expect to receive anything from anybody, specifically from the universe? Whatever your spiritual background is. And I assume if you listen to the show, you have some spiritual background. If you don't, I hope you receive some spirit from us as we're sharing it here. But the idea is that if you don't invest into yourself and you don't show the universe that you're investing into yourself, how else are you going to receive things? And going back, we had a guest, Rome. We haven't actually released that show. This show is really special to me. I will release it next week. Definitely tune in for that one. This is my friend. I played basketball with him since teenage years, and reconnected late in life. And he wrote a book. In one of the chapters, he had an opportunity cost. It's a marketing term, opportunity cost. What is the opportunity cost to having terrible habits? Is a health investment, right? So it makes total sense. And just like Jesse just made as an example, that investment is a lot more valuable than whatever money you spend at the restaurant or junk food, et cetera, et cetera. But going back to to our story table, like we just talked about pharmaceuticals, it is so much easier for the companies, pharmaceutical companies, to peddle their product, not just with government's help and the amount of money they invest into, the propaganda and going through doctors and all that stuff. but it's also because it's an easier solution for people to adhere to. It's so much easier to take a magic pill to have a weight loss than to develop this discipline and change your life habits to change your life for the better. So we covered this before, but people take diabetes drugs to lose weight. Did you hear about this, Tanya?
This is new to me.
Oh yeah, it's Wegovy and Ozempic. It's an injection. It like takes away your appetite, so you don't feel like eating as much of the junk that you were eating before. But there's a lot of bad side effects to that too.
Well, every pharmaceutical medication has a side effect, right? And with that, keeps you coming back for something else, which keeps them making a lot of money.
You were saying $500 a month for PT. This drug is like $2,000 a month, and you have to take it forever.
Yeah.
If or else as soon as you stop taking it, bang,
Yeah.
you gain all the weight back because you haven't really changed anything in your life. It's like
And-
you're putting a Band-Aid on it.
Exactly.
Yeah, and people are going to go and spend $2,000 a month without blinking an eye for something that they know will give temporary results. And then when, they empty their bank account and they get off it without, and they start seeing the weight coming back, then maybe it'll be like a bit of a realization that they haven't actually solved the problem. They solved the symptom of the problem. Whereas when you're paying for a coach or someone to teach you the right things, you are solving the root of the issue, not putting a Band-Aid over it. And that's the difference. And that's the value behind paying someone to keep you accountable, paying someone to teach you the right things, as opposed to spending $2,000 a month on drugs to put a Band-Aid. It's a glorified Band-Aid. It's like putting a Band-Aid over a ship that just, swung by a gigantic rock and put a giant slit across the side of it. It's not going to do much.
Well,
I think the problem is that we live in this instant gratification generation, and we need to teach people to be patiently impatient and work for something and not take the easy way out. That's the problem.
Do what you need to do, not what you want to do.
Yeah.
2 years ago, we would have been labeled fat phobic. But now I guess all the people who are lining up for these shots, they were the fat phobic ones. Okay? So, I don't like being fat. Oh, you're fat phobic then. Okay? See, the truth comes out. If there's an easy way, I said this a while ago, many years ago I said that. If you could get a pill that somebody could take, even if it was worth $50,000, and it would guarantee them to lose 50, 100 pounds, whatever, and once and for all it's done, they would rob a bank for that pill. Okay? They would steal to get it. So that's not the right way. Okay?
No.
That's doesn't work. What you guys do, what really works.
Yeah. Finding a permanent solution.
Well, it's bringing the life change that not only changes your weight and your appearance, but changes your lifestyle in general for the better, right?
Changing the mindset behind the weight loss.
Well, we focused on the diets last time, right? We mentioned the keto diet and everything else. What are there's a Harvard study. There's a Harvard study that's been done. Biologists claim to be a decade younger thanks to those full lifestyle habits. Well, we have a microbiologist in here with us, Jesse the Brain.
Biochemist.
Oh, sorry. Isn't it?
Jesse wears many hats. Whatever he needs, he just.
So
no
on
problem.
on scale of a level of difficult, is it a higher grade, biochemist versus biologist?
No, it's just two different disciplines. So microbiologist is more like the biology, I guess like on a more microscopic level. I mean, biology is on a microscopic level, but biochemistry, there's more chemistry involved, more like, for me, it was more of like the hormone side of things, how things work inside the body, and how it can manifest through.
So what you're saying, your degree is more important?
No, it's different.
You're saying your degree is more important. For the show purposes, you're saying your degree is more important and I know better than the microbiologist.
No,
I'm a biochemist.
I used to like biology. Actually, when I started my degree, I had a minor in biology, and I just didn't like it at the university level, so I ended up just dropping my minor altogether. But I do think it's a very good area of discipline. It's just not what I was interested in.
I was just reading today that microbiologists found a type of hormone that you can give a mouse that's hungover because they want to apply that to a human. So a guy goes out, a girl goes out, they party too much, they get drunk, then they can just take this shot and their hangover will dissipate very quickly. I mean,
Oh, it's like it's the, what do they call it? What's that blue magic pill? The a friendly Pfizer made Viagra, right? So that's along the lines, right? Instead of like working on your health, let's just take a pill.
lead to other health problems down the road.
Exactly.
Encourage people to drink more.
Okay, so that's a question to our professionals here who deal actually with the diet advice. So this guy, he claims that he feels 10 years younger, and part of his thing is the 4 points, 4 key points, and he mentions it here, which is a plant-based diet and cutting out alcohol, intermittent fasting, reducing stress, and regular exercise. Well, 3 and 4 is pretty straightforward. I think it applies to all, regardless of their diet and habits. But plant-based diet and intermittent fasting, I know we touched about it before with Jesse. Tanya, what do you think about that?
What do you think about intermittent fasting? Let's go with that one first.
I enjoy eating all day long. It's my thing.
What about for your clients?
No, I prefer to go old school and give them the meals throughout the day. But for myself, I don't follow 1 and 2, and I don't feel my age either. So maybe that worked for him. But I think to each their own, and it's an individual choice and what works best.
What about the low-carb diet?
That one's tricky because of what they choose when they're on this keto or back in the day Atkins diet, right? Mm-hmm. If you're choosing the bacon and you're choosing the sausage instead of the ham, maybe you're not really better off.
So I agree with a lot of his points. So especially to cutting out alcohol, which has a lot of negative side effects on hormones. Intermittent fasting, I think, so maybe not intermittent fasting, but I would say more of a calorie deficit. I mean, studies showed in animals who were in a caloric deficit did have a longer lifespan. So you can't really argue with that to a certain degree. Reducing stress. So again, yes, it comes down to balancing, managing your hormones, especially when people are older, and exercise, obviously one of the pillars of health and wellness. But I think one of the things that this article doesn't shine a light on is going to be the supplementation that this person, David Sinclair, takes. And actually, I started taking NAD plus and NMN because of a podcast that I heard him speak about it, where it's supposed to kind of help with health and longevity. So although he does feel 10 years younger, I don't think this article is telling the full story here. But I do think that he has strong points there. I'm not entirely sold on plant-based diet. I tried it for 2 years and did not resonate with me. It might resonate with some of you out there, but for me, it just wasn't it.
Right.
All right. So the keto diet we talked about last time, here this article talks about following a keto-like diet linked to higher risk of heart disease, study shows. I mean, we discussed it. You don't really need a study on people that are just going to substitute healthy, lean proteins with sausages and say, oh, I'm on a keto diet. Like, that seems straightforward with me. Do you really need a study to show that it's could be misinterpreted and people use it as an excuse for eating garbage food again?
It always seems like extremes. Why does it have to be extremes? Why can't it just be right? People, like you were saying before, Tanya, people are looking for a quick fix without the least amount of resistance as possible. I want it to be easy, and I want it to be done yesterday. Why? Anything worthwhile in life takes resistance, takes inner strength, takes courage, and it empowers you. Mm-hmm. So it can manifest in other things in your life, like making money for yourself, or getting along better in your relationships.
Speaking of relationships, you guys seem very comfortable with each other. Is that? I'm just kidding. I'm putting you on the spot. Sorry. I talk about Glenn and Jesse the Body. If you guys misunderstood, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah, I don't think
well,
so.
we know, like, so speaking of pharmaceuticals, back to pharmaceuticals, the idea of the quick gratification, right? Using drugs for whatever purposes. I don't know. I believe the antidepressants have place in our society. You know, our society is crazy. So I don't strongly believe in medication is a first choice as a solution to your health problems. But maybe it comes down to things where you had no choice, and it seems like the right resort at this point. Maybe things are too far gone in your life, and maybe pharmaceuticals can help as a temporary solution. But then, oftentimes, anything temporary becomes permanent, right? And then people say that the antidepressants, you know, they have no harm, and even though we have things like suicide. Is one of the side effects on some of the antidepressants, which they're supposed to prevent you from doing things like this. But now it became, they did a study, and now like, okay, it definitely is a fact that you can't just get off antidepressants. You still need some kind of method, some kind of technique to help you get off that. And exercise is one of them, isn't it, guys?
Yeah, because it releases the positive endorphins, like those feel-good hormones. And it's crazy the amount of people who are on antidepressants nowadays. It's almost every second person I speak to is on some form of antidepressant. And 10 years ago, there's a handful of people. So I think that there could be a numerous amount of factors as to why this is. And I think a lot of people just misunderstand going through a tough time with being depressed
Or bored. Let's face it, it's all in the first world country where you have the highest amount percentage-wise of the population taking antidepressants. Listen, it's your emotions. You're supposed to experience the whole gauntlet of emotions in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, something negative happens to you. It happens to everybody. But you dramatize it. You play it over again and again and again, and you don't know how to get yourself out. You put yourself into a quagmire. Taking a pill or taking a shot or eating junk food or drinking alcohol or doing marijuana or cocaine, how is that going to make you better?
Yeah, it just neutralizes the sadness or the loneliness or the pain that you're feeling temporarily. People have been so climatized to not sit in their own thoughts, their own emotions, and be alone. So the second they're in their own thoughts or they're alone, or it's like they're uncomfortable and they have to get out of it right away by any means necessary, whether it's any of the things that Glenn said, you know, alcohol, drugs, or pornography, who knows? There's so many coping mechanisms now that people resort to instead of just sitting down and feeling what they should feel. And these are normal emotions. Like, we all go through it. Like, I've been through periods of time where I wasn't feeling too great, but it's, you know, there's seasons in your life. You have to go through it. And it's very easy to just mask it, but instead, you know, feel the emotions and then just work past it somehow. Talk to somebody. There are multiple ways you can go about this.
The pharmaceutical companies, they say that antidepressants, they're not addictive. Yet when a person's been taking it for a long time and they go off of it, they miss it. Like their life is completely turned upside down. So, I mean, how could it not be addictive? And then you go off of something and you don't know how to function afterwards. Of course it's addictive. Another way for the pharmaceuticals to make more money. That's what we do, is we want to prevent people from going into that through exercise, proper nutrition, proper lifestyle, sleeping properly.
And it's not
And
really,
time.
and it's not a time. It's not a secret either. Like the things like this. Remember that movie came out on the book, Secret? It's not really a secret. Everybody talks about it. Just go on YouTube. There's so many free resources. Yeah, there are paid resources. There are paid services in forms of what we're talking about here, in terms of your exercise and your programs and everything else. But there's so many free resources you can find and supplement, and you can find the solutions if you're looking for. But it's got to come from you.
But this also comes back to the point that Glenn made before. People don't see the value in free. So even nutrition coaching, weight loss, the answers are all out there. People will not go and do it because they think that because it's coming off the internet that it's just not going to work for them. It's not going to apply. They don't know how to apply the knowledge, right? It's free. When you pay someone a hefty amount of money and they give you something, you'll follow it and you'll see the results. They'll value it more. So it's the same thing with this stuff, life coaching. I guess that's why life coaching exists, psychologists, whatever. People, they're going to teach you the same thing. It's just people will not take it seriously if they're not paying for it.
Also, okay, this is a business advice based on what Jesse just said. If you have like a yoga studio or some kind of group program, and you're offering like a first class for free or first week for free, you're not actually valuing your business. You could give a test, sort of like trial discount price where people can try multiple of your classes or multiple times or multiple instructors. You can do that, but don't go beyond that.
So when I had a studio, I had that same exact problem. They would come in, try for free for a week or whatever the case may be. And the prices were also a little bit lower because I was too attached emotionally to the community. And then when it came time to pay the bills, I still had to go get another job to pay the bills because the memberships didn't work, right? So it took me years to change that mindset and change the behavior of my community to understand that it's not free anymore. With the exception of during COVID, I was trying to be supportive of everybody, but it took a long time to change the mindset and that turnover in people to understand if it's free, it's not going to last.
What
Like,
you
it's
guys do
not
is very
sustainable.
valuable.
Yeah.
Okay. And value could be measured, of course, in dollars, because that's the way people measure value and everything. So you deserve to make a life for yourself. And your life for yourself is derived upon helping other people's lifestyles to have a better life for themselves. You should be remunerated very well for that.
Yeah. And when people see a successful fitness coach, I've been called a scammer when people found out that I made 6 figures, my second year of business, and like, oh, he just robs people for his money. It's like, no, I take money because I deliver results. And I've worked with 300 plus people, and I would say the ones that listened got the results they wanted. They're very happy, and they would gladly pay me for those services because they delivered. I delivered on the results that they wanted. So who is anybody to say that I'm a scam artist, right? And it's not just me. Like, people think I know fitness coaches personally who make multiple 7 figures. Are they scam artists? No. They price themselves according to their value, their worth. And you get what you pay for, right? You can pay a fitness coach $100 a month. You'll get what $100 is worth. Or you can pay someone, $1,000 a month. You essentially, if you pick the right coach, you will get the value's worth. And what you do with the information is what's important.
But also, value is not derived from just some magical number that I compare myself. Okay, this guy's charging $1,000. I should charge too. You will discover your own value, and that value comes from investment that you put into yourself, from your education, from your trials, and from your experience working with multiple clients, thousands of them. So you're not charging them only for your time. You're charging them for your expertise and years of practice you put into it.
And the client experience. So with the community that we're doing with these 5 people, they have 24/7 access to us. They have dietary changes whenever they need. They get a new workout plan every month. They can bombard us with questions. We're always there to answer within, 5 to 10 minutes, I would say. They're getting answers to their questions. So this is what people pay for. It's called the support, right? And when people feel supported, and they don't have the chance to fall off, this is where they see the real value in what you're offering.
What I'd like to do is ask you a question that probably a lot of our listeners would like to know. What do you think is better for cardio, HIIT or slow and steady? Which could be applicable to which type of person? A beginner.
A beginner, I would do slow and steady for sure.
Okay.
Build up their habit and their endurance of actually being able to do it, and their form especially. And once they're comfortable with that, then I would maybe try putting them towards a more intense class, like a HIIT class.
And what would be the best cardio exercise you would figure?
My advice is always walking. It's the most ancient and effective exercise. So I would start with that. Yeah.
You, Jess?
I think it depends on the individual.
So you right now.
Slow and steady.
Slow and steady, really?
So
okay.
I don't do HIIT cardio. I find it's very rough on my knees. So what I'll do is a very moderate walk on an incline. So the treadmill, the highest incline, and I'll speed walk for now 45 minutes, and in a few weeks probably an hour, and then we'll see where that goes.
And what about the majority of your clients?
Same thing. I give everyone slow and steady. I find a lot of my clients, their body is already in a state of stress enough that by giving them HIIT cardio, which is more stressful in the body, it's just going to do them no good. For my more athletic clients, I'll do a HIIT style cardio. I've done it for some of my guys in prep who are having like, that, little few pounds left to burn. I do think it does have its time and its place, and certain people will benefit from HIIT over slow and steady.
So just to add to that, for example, it also, like he said before, it depends on the person, because I have people that sometimes by just using the timing in HIIT as a guidance, it'll help them just to work on that mindset of getting through it. Whereas if you give them a set of reps, sometimes they're not able. So I'll take the concept of HIIT and apply it just to get them working. Like, don't quit, get through it.
That's why you need a personal trainer to adjust the training and the routine specific and the eating habits specifically to your wants and needs.
Well, there's been a lot of good points here. Guys, do you have something? We're going to put all your contact forms, and do you have any other programs that people can join in the future, or is this just... No, you know what? Screw it.
Let me ask Tania, where do you see yourself by the end of 2023? Have any goals?
I have a lot of goals. I do have a certification program that I do want to launch for Sokasweat, so I do hope that goes off well. I do want to be traveling to give classes elsewhere as well. And I want my virtual studio to really be a lot larger than it is right now. So my plan is to scale that business.
JTB, Jesse the body or the brain?
So for one, I'd like to actually step on the national stage for once. I've been qualified for it 3 times and I never went through. This year, I'd like to go through. I'd like to scale my online business, both the one-on-one coaching program that I do and the lower ticket offer that I have with Tania to, again, help as many people as possible. And the third thing is I'd like to finally launch and scale the app that I've been working on. So I'm not going to give too much details on that. Those are my primary goals. Everything else that I've set out to do, I've already done. So those big 3 things, and then we'll see where the rest leads us.
And why is it important to say it out loud? That's an affirmation, brothers and sisters. You start with a thought, and then you say your thoughts out loud. You send it out there, and then you follow it by action. Because if you say, "Oh, I'm too tired to do this. I'm too overrun. And it's not possible. It's difficult. The economy is horrible. Banks are failing. Is their clients? Gym business is awful. Blah blah blah. Whatever it is." You can talk yourself with that negative talk, and then you'll fall apart, and then you'll end up exactly where you talk yourself to. So it's very important to set your goals. It's very important to set your goals and speak out loud, and then you hold yourself accountable to it through the action that you do. But it starts with a thought. Any last thoughts, Glenn, before we let our wonderful guest go?
No, even myself, I think I'm going to apply what I learned today from these 2. Why not? Learn something new every day.
And that's exactly why we're tuning in to Alex Saz Show and Jesse the Body with Glenn, and now our beautiful co-host guest, Tania, with her wisdom as well. We're sharing our wisdom here every day for you guys to check in, and we'll see you on the next one.